Hello again, saying welcome back to the marketplace. Now, some importers of petroleum products say moves to clear all the energy sector debts would help turn around their dwindling fortunes. Some of these importers are said to be in financial distress due to delays by government in clearing debts owed them for products imported. Now, this development has led to some oil marketing companies and importers folding up. Government has asked managers of the 10 billion cedi energy sector bond to complete the fundraising exercise within 2 weeks. Acting Managing Director of Chase Petroleum, Bartholomew Darko, tells Joy Business this couldn't have come at a better time.
I will look at it from our sister company, that is Chase Petroleum. That is a BDC and that has some debts outstanding from government. Our prayer is that if government should be able to go ahead and then issue the bond, then the debts that we owe the banks will be able to pay it and be in a position to continue our business. The environment will be conducive for all of us, so that we will not continue to incur financial costs by way of interest that we pay to the banks as the debts continue to be outstanding.
Now, Director of Development Research of Imani Ghana, Bright Simons, says looking at government's mid-year performance, it will miss out on most of its targets by close of the year. He adds government has been slow at reforms at Cocoa Board, the NHIS and other agencies which should have been implemented by now. Analyzing government's mid-year performance, Bright Simons notes government could have done more. He spoke with Joy Business at the EcoBank FinTech Challenge organized by EcoBank.
The government is unlikely to meet its major fiscal and macroeconomic targets this year. That we know for a fact. That by September, it will be evident that we are going to miss some of the major targets that the government has set for itself on a macroeconomic level. So we are certainly not going to miss the targets on revenue mobilization, which you've already mentioned. It is very likely that the budget deficit will rise. We're probably going to miss the target also on the current account deficit. So these are, a lot of them are carryover problems from last 2 years. Some of the new big welfare projects that the government intends to embark upon this year, like free SHS, like expanding NHIS, a bunch of those types of services will involve additional expenditure. Then there are some rationalization that is also going on in the civil service, which may reduce the amount of outgoing commitments that the government has. And that will also help. But on the whole, I think the government has been rather conservative. There are a significant number of major program-related initiatives, not just simply macroeconomic, indicators, but program-related initiatives across the board. In the ports, for instance, rationalizing the port infrastructure, particularly in the case of compliance management, that it hasn't done. It could have done much faster than it should. There are problems around, for instance, Cocoa Board reforms that have to be undertaken to reduce the potential exposure to risk in that sector that the government could have undertaken that it hasn't undertaken. There are issues around NHIS recalibration, so that more money goes into NHIS and we have less of a situation where NHIS becomes simply another sinkhole. These are all things that the government could have done in the first 6 months. And we are already at the end of that 6 months, and it hasn't done those things. But we like the fact that it's moving forward aggressively in the area of bureaucratic reform, for instance, in some segments. We like the fact that it's trying to ensure that taxes on SMEs are scaled down. These are all very positive steps. But I think they could have done more.
Meanwhile, the Director of Development Research at Imani Ghana is not happy about government's revenue and audit methods used by Accountant General's Department.
Financial technology services and solutions can help in the mobilization of revenue is in fraud detection. So if you look at the way that currently the system works, it is based on ad hoc audits. So every now and then, the taxman looks through the books and thinks that maybe this company, there's something shady about the company. Then they go and then implement an audit, and sometimes they find something. There are ways in which using big data technology, the information concerning tax information, the information concerning tax rates, concerning tax compliance rates, etc., could all be pooled, and machine learning algorithms can sift through them to detect patterns which will guide tax tax authorities in the way that they conduct audits. So they do more targeted audits. They do more intelligence-driven audits. These are all ways in which financial technology services and solutions could be extremely powerful in helping governments mobilize revenues to block the deficits that we are seeing.
All right, so it's still on Marketplace, and Petroleum Commission has called for calm among fishermen and upstream petroleum companies in the various oil fields in the Western region. According to the Commission, which is the industry regulator, Ghana can work on maximizing gains from the fishing and oil and gas industry without any harm to each other in a sustainable way. However, speaking at the ongoing Ghana Oil and Gas Summit in Accra, Acting Chief Executive of the Petroleum Commission, Theophilus Ahwiring, assures the Commission is making efforts to ensure the two industries are strengthened to generate revenue for the country. Ebenezer Sabute Aman is at the summit and joins us live with some more updates. Ebenezer, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
So how serious is the rift between fishermen and oil companies for which the Petroleum Commission has to step in?
According to the Petroleum Commission, since petroleum exploration began in Ghana, fisher folks, which normally they use the sea as their source of revenue, but for now they have not been able to explore more of the fishing business because exploration companies, oil exploration companies, have been interrupting with their work. Whenever they go, they either get dead fishes or they don't even get fish at all. Sometimes they go and then there have been cases where they crash with the exploration companies, and this has been a great concern to the Petroleum Commission. So he is trying to assure Ghanaians that they are having a dialogue with both parties, and then they shouldn't panic because both industries are very important for revenue mobilization in Ghana. So they are doing everything possible to bring this issue to a halt.
Now, when you say everything possible, what are some of the specific measures? Because this particular development arose right at the onset of exploratory activities in the Western region. What specific measures have been put in place since this thing started?
Okay, according to the acting CEO, the Commission as a regulator have engaged both the fisher folks at the Western region and then some oil exploration companies. So for now, they are only waiting to have, they are embarking on a study with the CSIR, and very soon when the study comes out, they will look at the report and then they will implement some of the recommendations. He also said they are working out with some laws and regulations to ensure that at least both parties coexist without any calamity, or so that Ghana can be able to maximize its profit from both industries.
Now, fishermen have always complained about the buffer zone around the FPSO, which is a no-go area, and for which, for that matter, is affecting their level of output and their work. Has anything been done, or was anything said about this?
Okay, what he keeps telling me is that this is an issue that came up, some time ago, and they are doing everything within their means to ensure that whatever situation is happening, it's come to, they come to an understanding. So they are still in talks with the partners. They are still in talks with the fisher folks and the chiefs in the area. And very soon we'll have, they will have a report. They'll go through the report and implement the recommendations.
All right. So who else has been speaking, and what have they been saying?
Okay, the Minister of Energy in the person of Boakye Agyarko has also been speaking. He is kind of calling on civil society groups to help government and then help the citizenry to manage the oil resources very well. Because according to him, in some parts of the world where oil has been explored, it became a curse. In the case of Ghana, he doesn't want it to be a curse. So they are doing everything possible to make sure that the resources are managed well. But they cannot do it alone if civil society organizations and the citizenry don't support. So he's calling on the civil society organizations and then the citizenry to support him in that regard. The Minister of Mines and Energy from the Equatorial Guinea has also been speaking, and he is of the view that time has come for the Equatorial Guinea to have an MOU with Ghana so that they can trade LNG together. When I talk of LNG, I mean liquefied natural gas between the two countries. In times Equatorial Guinea have been having excess gas, and they've been exporting to neighboring countries. But it is about time they come together with Ghana so that they use, the West African power pool.
Many thanks for your time, Ebenezer Sabuti. Ebenezer Sabuti bringing us up to speed with developments on at this year's annual Oil and Gas Summit currently going on. Now, the Ministry of Trade and Industry says it hopes to complete work on an SME policy by the end of the year. The policy is expected to introduce measures that would boost operations of small and medium-scale enterprises in the country. Director of the Value Chain and Logistics at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Papa Bartels, revealed this at the launch of the F4th SME Ghana Awards in Accra.
The SME Ghana Awards, spearheaded by event management and concept development firm Imaginate, is aimed at acknowledging, celebrating and encouraging excellence among SMEs in Ghana. It is also to give them an opportunity to gain exposure and recognition for national and global expansion. SMEs are said to constitute over 90% of businesses registered in the country, but several factors have hindered their growth. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the 4th edition of the awards, Director of Value Chain and Logistics at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Papa Bartels, expressed the government's commitment to growing the SME space. He shed more light on the SME policy the ministry is currently drafting.
SMEs in the country have challenges with technology, they have challenges with innovation, and then even the engineering aspect of business development. So the policy would seek to address some of these challenges within the area, and then also roll out programs that would shore up the development of SMEs in the country. We are looking at the business regulation environment, and that is an area that government is also looking at addressing, and it will call for dialogue with financial institutions and then the SMEs itself.
This year's SME Ghana Awards would see the introduction of a new category dubbed Promising Micro Company of the Future. Kwesi Ofori Jr. is project lead for the SME Ghana Awards.
The SME Ghana Awards is a unique platform made for SMEs by SMEs. We are our SMEs. And this is important we recognize the central role SMEs are playing in national development. Ghana has come to this far because of what our SMEs have contributed to our GDP so far. If you're looking at the baseline, they employ the chunk of the graduates that come out of school. They create the most job opportunities. For Ghana to say that we've grown or we've come a long way, it means that we need to support our SMEs, realize their full potential. Then the issue of job unemployment will become a thing of the past.
On her part, head of Vodafone Business Solutions, headline sponsors for the event, Angela Mensah-Poku, highlighted the need for Ghanaian SMEs to be supported to grow and make an impact globally.
We need more sustainable, international, multinational Ghanaian companies. And I think by sponsoring the SMEGA Awards, we're able to help grow those SMEs.
This year's award ceremony, which will be held on the 28th of September, is under the theme Sustaining Ghana's SMEs in a Globally Competitive Market and covering the pillars of profitable growth in a digitized business world.
Now, as part of efforts to enhance revenue mobilization, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, is embarking on a revenue mobilization drive as it clamps down on some businesses in the Ashanti region, which owes the authority huge amount of tax payments. Let's now link up with our correspondent in Kumasi, Prince Appiah, to bring us more of this particular development. Good afternoon, Prince. All right, so we lost our correspondent, Prince Appiah. We'll try to link back.
I'm here.
All right, Prince.
Hello?
Now, if you can hear me, how much exactly is involved in these outstanding tax payments?
Yes, 8 different companies in the Ashanti region are owing a tune of about a little over 11 million Ghana cedis. And with this, out of these companies are suppliers to mining companies. And these 4 companies who supply to mining companies owe a tune of about 10 million Ghana cedis out of the 11 million, which tells you that it's over 90% of the amount owed. And one other company, which is a rice importer, we just left his premises, Roxing, is here. He owes about 7 million Ghana cedis. And all these people are owing VAT and taxes, which spans the period of 2013 to 2017. And officials tell me that they have issued notices to these companies 8 months ago to inform them that they are owing and that they should pay these taxes, but they haven't done that. That is why today they are embarking on a distress action to recover the debt owed.
All right, so these companies have been closed down, but are there measures in place to get the monies that you have outlined from them after they've been closed?
Yes, apart from it being locked down, there are measures by the officials to ensure that these companies pay the money. And one of this is to resort to legal action against these companies who are owing the amount. But of course, it's giving them some time period after it's being locked down to come and pay. And as part of the payment, they are going to pay 125% interest, in addition to other penalties involved in the amount they owe.
Now, is this exercise going to be extended to cover other companies, or is only for a day?
Yeah, it is for today. We are going to all the 8 companies, but of course, because of security reasons, the officials are not telling you where they are going, because of course they suspect that someone might give a tip-off to some of these companies who owe to be on the lookout for them. So they don't do that. All what we are doing is that we just go and you realize that we move around, we don't know where we are going, then we meet, we get to the premises of any of the companies that are owing. But of course, the officials say that they are going to extend it to other parts of the country where people are owing.
All right. Now, finally, do you get the impression that it has generated some kind of apprehension amongst other companies to rush to go and pay up?
Of course, it has. Speaking to the officials, that is the sense we get. And around, we just got to one company where we got the officials are not around. No worker is available. The place has been dejected, which tells you that the information is gradually reaching out to those who are supposed to get the information. And the officials are saying that most of the time, in years past, when it happens this way, they go around, go through the back door, and they start paying as they're supposed to.
Many thanks.
They expect that it yield the result, yeah.
Many thanks for your time, Prince Appiah, for that update. Prince Appiah, Ashanti Regional Correspondent, bringing us developments in Kumasi, where the GRA is clamping down on some businesses to retrieve outstanding tax payments. Now, moving on, Ghana may be battling with a housing deficit, but the construction industry is employing all measures to overcome the challenges. Investments in infrastructure, rapid urbanization, and a growing housing deficit continue to place demand on the country's construction sector. Industry players are therefore anticipating a boom that will signal a change for the industry. Joy FM gears up for the annual Habitat Fair, and Sheila Tamaklu turns her focus on the construction sector.
In just a few months' time, this project will be completed. The engineer is driving workers to meet the deadline after the onset of rains have affected work.
It's about 15 workers.
Oh, okay.
We have 10 masons, we have 5 or 6 masons.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Charlie, hold on eh?
Building projects like these are a common sight all over the city nowadays. The construction industry has been booming at least in the last 15 years.
Construction industry is almost in every economy. It's the engine of almost every the development in any developed environment. So certainly, if you look at Ghana in general, we look like we set for an upward movement in terms of our development. So I'll say that, yeah, what you said is true. The construction industry is picking up.
Projects like the Airport City 1, the $400 million Kotoka International Airport Terminal 3, and many other real estate projects springing up across the city is a clear indication of the significant growth in the industry. This is, however, not without challenges. The sector currently employs about 320,000 people, with the potential to employ close to 1 million in the next 10 years if the growth trend is anything to go by. The World Bank, however, projects a skills gap of 250,000 artisans and tradesmen by 2020, a development that needs to be averted.
Currently in Ghana, we have to be importing tradesmen from neighboring countries like Togo. Masons, carpenters, tilers, painters are all imported generally from Togo because Ghana currently lacks that quality. And the reason is that there is not an institution which trains and certify those tradespeople. Now, with these high-rise buildings, one will expect that you have a lot of local capacity undertaking these projects. But unfortunately, you have only a few construction companies doing this, and that is not too good for the country. The government currently is talking about 70% of local content in procurement, specifically in construction and other related areas. If there is no deliberate attempt to grow the sector, this will be a mirage.
Beyond skills challenge, another single big barrier to the booming industry is the lack of financing for players. Indigenous construction firms have over the years lamented the difficulties in access to credit, and the high cost of credit is unduly affecting their operations. According to them, as opposed to their foreign counterparts who usually access funding at relatively low cost from home countries, Ghana's high lending rates regime simply makes them uncompetitive. Also affecting their operations, they say, is delay in payments for government projects they execute.
Those large projects are mainly government, oriented. And so you're asking yourself if it is. And the characteristics of those projects is they don't tend to pay on time. The loan or the credit facility that this indigenous construction company has taken means that would go beyond the deadline. And when that happens, the interest rates keep accumulating. They are not prepared to pay that cost of interest that has accumulated. So these companies tend to see challenges extremely.
The dawn of a new financial institution, the Construction Bank, poised to take on the financial challenge, may help improve the situation.
We're going to have a group of professionals in-house who will understand the sector better and know how to finance it. Okay, so that we don't just adopt the traditional approach of you want a facility, go and bring your property or something, some collateral. But we will look at the project itself and look at how we can finance it as you go along, so that the project itself becomes like the collateral. That's how real estate, especially, is financed all over the world. So that is what we are bringing in.
The need for a regulatory body to streamline activities in the sector cannot be overemphasized. Many believe this should seal the deal in repositioning the industry to boost its contribution to the country's socio-economic development.
What we need is a couple of policy improvements. Key among the issues will be the need to have a construction industry development authority, which will champion all construction industry development related issues in Ghana. We believe that with the setting up of this body, which we have been advocating for some time now, if this body is set up, all the policy gaps, all issues that are militating against the growth and development of sector will be dealt with.
The growth potential for Ghana's construction sector is being boosted by the relationship with other industries like oil and gas by way of infrastructural demands. It is, however, up to policymakers to take the right decision to make this a reality.
Boss, yeah. Okay.
So as the industry is growing, there is the need for authorities to actually come up with conscious efforts to set up a regulatory authority to streamline activities in this sector to ensure that the full gains of this industry will be obtained. Reporting for Joy Business from East Legon, it's Sheila Tamaklo.
Let's now take a breather here for an investment tip.
Investment Tips is brought to you by Daffing Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
fixed income securities. This is employment of funds in securities or an enterprise in which returns, whether dividend or interest, is a fixed amount.
Investment Tips was brought to you by Dauphin Finance, deposits, investments, borrowings, and advisory.
Now, many confectionaries on the Ghanaian markets many chocolate confectionaries on the Ghanaian markets are imported. This could be described as rather unfortunate, especially for a country which is a leading producer of cocoa. This time, the Joy Business Van meets one of the pioneers of bean-to-bar chocolate production, poised to change the story. Here's a repeat of the Joy Business Van.
Hi, welcome Joy Business Van. My name is Nana Mamwa, founder of the Sweet Art Company, the makers of Moments Premium Ghanaian Chocolate.
In her father's garage, Ruth makes her chocolate confectionaries from bean to bar. Ruth got inspired at an entrepreneurial conference to add economic value to the country's numerous raw materials.
So what I did, I went home the next day and I wrote out all the raw materials that I thought we had in Ghana. I wrote some that probably we don't even have to. But then I wrote gold, I wrote oil palm, I wrote cocoa, and a few others. I literally took it one by one and I was like, hey, what can I do with this? I knew I couldn't do anything with gold because I couldn't get gold, I didn't have any money. And then I started cutting it off like that. And so I was left with cocoa. And then I remember when I was living in England, I always used to mention how I didn't like the packaging of Ghanaian chocolate. So that for me was like a unique thing that I could get into and make a mark for myself.
That began an entrepreneurial journey that has spanned close to 2 years. Ruth had no idea about chocolate making, but that wouldn't stop her from going to the central regional village of Ejumaku Besiase to get a bag of cocoa beans to experiment with.
You're going to teach me how to do this, are you?
I think so.
Okay, so where do we start? Oh, come on. Okay. Where do we start from?
Okay, so the general process of making chocolate is normally would start from the roasting. But that's tell a lie. It would normally start from the sorting of the beans. So when we get a bag of beans, it has a lot of debris in there, a lot of hairs from the dogs that have been, well, I'm not trying to put people off chocolate, but that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of stuff in there that we have to take out. So we generally do that outside because the beans are contaminated before they're roasted. So we would spread it out and take out all the bad beans. You know, all the stuff that you don't want to see in there. We'll take that all out and then we go into the roasting process. It's we have a manual roaster that we kind of like manually do it. See how my arms are all abo. Anyways, okay. And so basically that's what happens. And then once we're done, we bring it here. So this is roasted beans. It's quite easy to crack once it's roasted. You do this, you'll crack it.
Okay.
And then you'll get the nib in there.
Okay.
So normally this is called a nib. So you want to try one, you crack it yourself.
Okay. Hope I don't destroy it.
Oh no, you know, it doesn't matter because the nibs will be destroyed anyway. You want to taste? It's better.
Ruth's first chocolate, as she recalls, didn't turn out quite well.
We roasted the first batch. The whole place smelled of brownies. It was just lovely. Like, I just love the smell of cocoa beans. But yeah, it was really, we roasted it, we're like, okay, what next? We made a batch of chocolate that was like, I wish I'd kept that chocolate. It was horrible. It wasn't good.
Ruth was not deterred. Fast forward, she makes very good, very good chocolate confectionaries. Once the cracking is done, special ingredients are added and it goes into the grinding machines. I get to try my hands on molding the chocolates and then to the fridge. We're actually molding chocolates in my name.
That's the final level.
Nice. Chef's on a mission.
Ruth had at the back of her mind she had to make unique products if her chocolate would go far.
We have very vibrant varieties. And that's because we wanted to kind of do something different from the norm. And so we don't have actual flavor in there. So if it's toffee, it's actual toffee in there. If it's ginger, there's actual ginger. This one actually, you'll bite into ginger in there.
I've never tasted chocolate with ginger.
Yeah, so this has orange and ginger.
Wow.
So stuff like that. So we try to put inclusions in there that are different. So we don't want it to be the norm on the market. And if we're doing a premium brand, our packaging also makes a difference. You'll see that our packaging is quite fanciful. And also, so all those things make, so we have 8 different varieties of chocolate.
8 varieties and still counting. Her Moments brand has grown in the last 2 years and patronage is very good both here in Ghana and abroad.
And there's a lot I want to do. So it's a sweetheart company, so we're into confectionery. So we'll be going into other confectionery. We have started, but on a very small scale. So we'll go into a lot of other confectionery along the line. And we're trying, I want Moments to be the best chocolate maker in the world, really, because I think wherever the best raw material comes from, we really should have the best product. So Ghana is the 2nd largest producer of cocoa in the world. We should have one of the best chocolates in the world. Love, Daryl.
So you can catch another edition of the Joy Business Van next Wednesday on Business Live with a repeat on the Marketplace. And that wraps up this afternoon's edition of the program. My name is Emmanuel Boykin. Thank you so much for being with me. Let's meet again tomorrow.